Despite what you see in the media and the big changes going on, not just locally here in Arizona, but around the world, the Arizona housing market continues to move forward. Today, we're going to go over the recent numbers showing what we're seeing in the Arizona housing market here for March and what that means for the future. But welcome back to the channel. It's Rich Brecklin, your Arizona real estate agent. Now, before we really get into this, I want to go over something that maybe needs addressed based on some of the comments I get, and I get it. And that is confirmation bias. I want to remind people what this definition is. Confirmation bias is people's tendency to process information by looking for or interpreting information that is consistent with their existing beliefs. Now, we see this, or at least I see it all the time in real estate news, and people are paying attention to what's being reported by other YouTube channels, big media. It's also huge in like the fitness and nutrition space, the whole confirmation bias of just so many different things. But keep that in mind when you're making your decision. Is it based on things you want to believe, or is it actual data and facts? Now, I have no dog in this fight. If the market does crash, I have people that will capitalize very heavily. And if it continues to go up, I also have clients who will benefit that way as well. And like I always say, real estate isn't always great for everyone, but it's always great for someone. It just depends on where you are in that picture. So enough of that, because I know the comments are coming though, and that's fine. Light me up. But just going to give you a brief overview of where we are at today and active listings. Now, looking at this chart, again, numbers, and some are going to be leading indicators and some are lagging, but I like to have as much data as possible. And let me pull that up here for you. And so what we look at, sorry if you can see that, again, active listings. We are down again. We are down to under 11,000 single family homes for sale. For context, in the fall, that number was 17,500, but under 11,000 is well below where we should be. Despite the higher rates, we simply do not have enough homes for sale. And supply and demand is a huge factor when it comes to, this market here. If you look back when the market did crash, there are so many homes on the market. Obviously, not every property is going to sell, and people had to think, well, how does my home stand out? And that is price. Price pretty much fixes all things called real estate if you're trying to get your home sold. So we're looking at these numbers. Active listings down, but pending listings, those are down from last month. Now, that could be a few different things. We did see a peak in rates a little bit, but then it pulled back. Also, not as many homes for sale. So that could be a factor there, and a lot of the hedge fund buyers are not. But this is from last month, so a lot of the hedge fund buyers and iBuyers have already slowed down, but not down by a lot, but enough for me to notice. But it is up from last quarter. And then obviously, if you look at the last 2 years, which again are outliers, but just so you can see where we were. Listings under contract though are up from last month just by a handful, 5, but up quite a bit from last quarter. Sales per month are up. Now, we are starting to enter our busy season here. Now, Arizona doesn't have quite the seasonality like other markets, like where I'm from in Illinois, but there is a slight, who wants to move in December, even though it's not that cold, but everyone has other things going on. However, sales are up quite a bit, almost 1,000, and up from last quarter, but again, down from last 2 years. Sales per year down, and that was expected. Days on market is improving. Days on market for active. And you got to think when it comes from the days on market active. So those are homes that are not under contract or not sold. And we're still seeing some sellers who think it is, a year, 2 years ago, where they could price their home where they think, not what the market indicates what it's worth, but they think, oh, it's worth this because I saw their home sold for X amount. Well, yeah, that home sold for that amount back in early 2022. It is not early 2022 anymore. If your home is not priced and according to what the market dictates is worth, it will be a statistic. You will chase the market downhill, and your home will not sell for as much as it should have had you priced your home correctly. So keep that in mind if you're a seller or homeowner watching this channel. Month supply of inventory. We've been hanging out at 2.2 months for a little while. Now, typically 6 months is a strong buyer's market. And here that changes, and also changes from area to area, market to market. But right now we are at 2.2 months, down again from last month at 2.7 and last quarter at 3.5. And just how crazy it was a year and 2 years ago, just a few weeks of inventory, but 2.2 months, still a seller's market on paper, still very active, very healthy market. So it's not what it was a while ago, but everything indicates, seller's market. Again, I'm calling it aggressive balanced. And we're going to get into this a little more detail here in a moment, but the monthly sales price per square foot, that is a number that is continuing to go up. So I like to look at monthly sales price, the median sales price and the average, and just see the trend amongst all of them. But we are going up in monthly sales price. Now, still not where we were last year. We hit a peak in late spring. And then 2 years ago, though, we are up. So people are like, oh, it's going to crash. I'm like, well, crash from what? Crash from, spring of 2022 or crash from the fall? So it depends. And you can spin this information any way you want it to fit whatever narrative you want to put out there. And a lot of YouTube channels, especially with real estate or finance, what gets views is the doom and gloom, crash and burn. Here's what's happening. I don't subscribe to that. I like to put out, this is the data. This is the numbers. Do with it as you see fit. But I'm not just trying to get views on my channel. I'm trying to help my clients and just put out information that is accurate, that is real. Again, when you're making your decision and you're saying, oh, it's going to crash, based on what? Is it back to that confirmation bias, or are you actually looking at the numbers? Do you see what's going on, boots on the ground? Are you looking at other trends? Because I don't disagree. When we see the rates going up, you would think, oh, there'd be a huge pullback and no one would be wanting to buy or sell a home. But I can tell you firsthand with the phone calls and emails and clients I'm helping, I have never been busier. This year will be my busiest year in real estate, which I was completely shocked by. So again, that is what I am seeing in my business. Again, the average sales price to list percentage, we're at 97.23, up from last month, up from last quarter. Thank goodness, though, we're down from a year or 2 years ago, where pretty much everyone had to go above list price if they wanted to get that home. And then your average monthly sales price is up again and up to 541. Now in the fall, that's when everyone was freaking out. Rates had jumped up in June-ish, and then we had a flood of inventory hit, and we went down to an average price of around 510. And some people were thinking it was going to keep dropping. Well, then it picked back up when rates started to improve and buyers just got used to, we're not going to have it 2.75% 30 anymore. I don't know if we will ever have that. And the rates are what the rates are, especially with being able to get seller concessions to contribute to buy down the rates, and also with a lot of builders giving incentives and rate buy downs, rate locks. That helped a lot. Anywho, we are up from last month and up from last quarter, still down from last year, but above where we were 2 years ago by around 13-14%. Now, again, when people talk crash, what are you going to crash from? A year ago, 2 years ago? Well, we're up from that. So are we going to go down to the price? Are we going to drop 13-14% to where we were 2 years ago? I don't foresee that, at least in the near future, with any information I'm seeing and what the trends are. And then, in 2019, where we were almost $200,000 below this, at least, 150, give or take. And then median sales price is up from last month and last quarter, not quite from a year ago, but again, up from 2 years ago. And then your Cromford Market Index. Remember, 100 is balanced, below is buyers. We are still trending upward at 134. And like I always say, real estate is hyper local. So this is as a whole. But if you start looking at different areas of, say, Gilbert, or even different zip codes in Gilbert and Scottsdale, it varies. So it's down to the neighborhood. So if you're looking at a certain area, if you're a seller and like, oh, it's a seller's market, well, depends on your zip code and the exact neighborhood. And I've had clients who've thought that, and we've broken down, gone super granular on what this means for you. But I want to give you just that 10,000 foot overview of what this looks like. But yeah, thank goodness we're not in that. Now we're going to go to, again, this monthly sales price per square foot, so you can just see the trends. Now, here's all the way back. We've always had, consistent appreciation in this market. 2015, $130 per square foot. Wouldn't that be nice? And then we see, that's that trend going upward. And still in 2020, it was almost around this time when COVID hit, and then there's a lot of uncertainty. And then 2021, we're in full swing. And you can see that gap there, that separation where prices really started to jump up. And then from year over year, 2021 to 2022, it went up quite a bit. So we're not where we were in 2022. And I really don't know if we get up to that level where we were, $305 a square foot. And honestly, I hope we don't. I don't mind appreciating at a normal rate, but we don't need to go that high that fast. But look at the trend. And that's what I'm interested in. So we had dropped, and then since early winter we have been consistently going in an upward direction, and that's what we're seeing in the market. And it comes back down again to supply and demand. Now, if we get hit with a lot more inventory, and a lot of people are thinking, oh, foreclosures are here, I know foreclosures are going to happen, and we're going to get to that one next. But if we get a lot more inventory, then that would make sense where we would see that. I mean, I think that's, I probably don't even say that. That's pretty much common sense. But right now, we are so well below where we should be. I had clients who are under contract and they were thinking about canceling, just preparing for the worst. And they were looking at other homes in Mesa, and they couldn't find anything. They were surprised. They're like, there's nothing out there that fits what we're looking for compared to the home we're under contract on. Now, foreclosures. Now, these are pending foreclosures. Doesn't mean pending under contract, but pending the foreclosure process. And not every pending foreclosure ends up making a foreclosure, especially now that people have so much equity in their homes. I mean, why would you walk away from that? So they can do with, as they please. So when you're looking at these numbers, again, for some context, 5,000 to 10,000 foreclosures pending is normal. Usually around 8, you're good. But when you start to get above 10,000, that's when the market can no longer sustain that. And that's when we have issues. So 2021, 2022, there's a low amount of pending foreclosures. I think everyone know that. There was that moratorium on foreclosures. But here's where we were in 2020, in 2019. Still well below the normal range. Still not a lot of pending foreclosures. And currently we are at 1,040. And now you want to see what happened in 2008? Well, it jumped up quite a bit. How about 2010? And not even in range. Over 50,000 pending foreclosures. Obviously, we all know that was an awful time. A lot of people lost their homes. But I wanted to share that with you so you can see when people are talking, oh, there's a lot of foreclosures. Well, there really isn't. We don't have that issue of foreclosures going on right now. Now, another metric I'm paying attention to, if we start seeing that increase, then we'll get worried. But for right now, we are still well below the normal range of pending foreclosures. So what does that mean for the Arizona market? Well, again, rates are still relatively, I don't know, they're kind of holding steady despite all of the craziness going on in the banking world. But rates right now, 6.54 for a 30-year fix. However, a 15-year fix, 30-year jumbo, 30-year FHA, and 30-year VA, all below 6. Now, if you are an FHA buyer and you're under 6, and then a lot of my clients were able to negotiate a seller concession, even though it is a seller's market, but getting that seller concession, if you can, to buy that rate down even lower, will greatly impact your monthly payment. And that's what you should be worried about, is looking at your monthly payment, what you can afford. Now, a 5-1 ARM, I don't know who in the right mind is thinking about doing a 5-1 ARM. I don't know who's advising that, not at this rate. So again, the rates they've been holding steady. They were up above 7, and they're down from where they were a month ago. So if rates continue to hold this, where sellers don't get or buyers don't get too scared, then I think we're going to continue to see the strong activity. What we're also going to see is, what do those sellers do that bought their home, in 2019 at an average of $394? And do they want to upgrade? Because to buy that same home is going to cost them $540. And now the rate then was 3.94. And if they refinanced, it's even lower. And so many people have a rate, well under 4. Many people have it under 3.5. But let's just say they never refinanced, and that monthly payment on that 394 at 3.9%, 3.94 is around $1,700. And now that same home at today's rate is going to be around $3,500, $3,600 if they're putting minimum down. Thankfully, they're going to have a lot of equity, so it's going to change. But a lot of those sellers are not willing to trade in that home, that lower monthly payment, because their house did not cost that much in 2019 or before, that lower rate, and then to upgrade into a bigger and nicer home, well, it's going to cost them much more, and their monthly payment is going to be much higher. So that is going to, I think, keep inventory low of sellers who just are not ready to pay that much more for their home, their monthly payment, and so on. So again, that's we're just going to be in this cycle for a while. I don't know. Let me know, what do you think is going to cause, if there is going to be a crash, what do you think is going to cause it? Where do you see inventory come from? And if you don't think the market is going to tank, how high do you see it going? Do you see it just staying level? So that's what I want to know from you. But for now, if you're thinking about moving and you can afford the monthly payment, that's what you should be looking at. But if you can't, then maybe just look at renting. But for now, we have still a strong flow of people moving into Arizona, businesses as well. And these are, again, they're just the numbers. Don't shoot the messenger. But if you are looking to make that move, have questions about the market, or you're looking to sell here, reach out. Love to go over what that looks like for you, see if we can help you, and put this negotiating skills to the test. But again, it's Rich Brecklin with Real Broker. Watch this next video, and I'll see you on the next one.